start the show. Welcome to another edition of Cat Calls. I am Cat Bine, and this is my show that I do every Thursday here on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/catbine. Katbein. Why am I spelling it? Because maybe you're watching this on YouTube later, because I post all my episodes of Cat Calls on YouTube later, even if I'm sometimes a bit behind like I am right now, but whatever. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you should join us here on twitch.tv/catbine. It's really fun. Alex says it's fun. Right, Alex? Right, Alex? I'm just kidding. Alex, that's really cool that you booked today's guest for support at Troy Boy. Troy Boy, another amazing guest, someone I would love to have on Cat Calls. I'm going to make a mental note of that, try to make that happen. But of course, my guest today is not Troy Boy. My guest today is so nice. I've actually never interviewed him before, but we have connected a couple times now, getting prepped for today. And I think today's conversation is going to be a lot of fun. Everybody give it up for Krane. Yes. Woo! Yes, Krane grew up near the Bay Area, so shout out a local boy one time, okay? I'm filming this in the Bay Area. I'm in Berkeley, California right now. Shout out. He's one of those rare classically trained musicians in the electronic music space. Before he was a producer, he played guitar in a bunch of rock bands and metal bands. I heard he's a fan of Tool, which is very fun. I liked Tool. I think we're probably like around the same age. It wasn't until his brother, as long as I understand this right, introduced him to Justice and the LA beat scene that he was turned on to the limitless possibilities of creating music by oneself in a room with a computer. And since then, he's been hard at work, although he's always kept this spirit of collaboration as a main theme in his career. Previous to the interview, we were just watching his collab with Toki Monsta and Anderson .Paak called Put It Down. Super funky, got like some fun trap drums on the drop, but it's Anderson .Paak, so it's got like a lot of like slick, funky melodies to it. He also brings that same energy to his session series, which allows him to champion a lot of up-and-coming producers by creating a community and opening the door for them to collaborate with him. And then he releases those collaborations during as compilations in his session series, the third volume of which dropped earlier this month, I believe. And he also dropped a new album this year called Getting Better, which sees him expand his sonic palette in this really beautiful, kind of like ethereal way that I'm excited to chat with him about. Before I bring him on the line, though, I want to play for you a tune from Session Volume 3 called Coastal. It features a producer named Capshun, and it is just so pleasant. It reminds me of my trip to Japan that I took in 2019. I've only been to Japan once, so anything that's like vaguely Japanish reminds me of it. But I think it's something about the nature samples that are in it. I think it's got some bird sounds that are really nice. I don't know, it's just really soothing. And he agreed. He said it would be a nice way to start the show. So here, I'm going to play Coastal by Krane and Capshun. And when we come back, I will have Krane on the line. Okay, yay, exciting. So much for joining me. And before we get any further, I want to wish you a happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
I saw that it was just your birthday.
Whatever that next question you're probably about to ask about the number of birthdays.
I won't.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll leave it out. Although I have a sneaking suspicion that we're about the same age, because I heard that you were a fan of Tool and Rob Zombie as a kid.
Oh,
and
yeah, definitely.
I was too, and that definitely says to me a time period.
Yeah, and like when I've watched Pen 15, I relate to it way too much.
Oh my God, absolutely. That show
that's for sure.
It's like watching your own memories. It's so scary.
I remember like the first scene or something. I think one of the kids is wearing like a 311 shirt or something, and like playing hacky sack.
Yes. Yo, I'm glad you brought up 311, because I had a bit of a 311 throwback day like a month ago where I just let Spotify run with it. And I was like, damn, these actually are jams though.
I mean, I would have, middle school me would have disagreed with you then.
Do you
but
disagree?
I have gone back to some of the stuff like Tool or like Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
That I just thought was like so dark and so hard when I was a kid, when I first heard that.
Yeah.
And I had to stop because I couldn't get into it anymore. I mean,
Oh
I
my
just feel
God.
like when it comes to like aggressive music, it's just gotten so much darker and harder that I went back and it
Yes.
sounded like classic rock or
So
something like. I mean, I couldn't,
true.
especially like Marilyn Manson.
Well, I mean, and that's how people felt about like Led Zeppelin. But you're getting a lot of happy birthdays, by the way, too. I want you to know that you're getting happy birthdays from
Yeah, you have to if there's anything in the
Damask
chat, you have to tell me, 'cause
NYC
I'm
and
not watching the chat, so
Tim Arbery. Well, everyone's wishing you happy birthday.
oh, they're all eights.
They're all sweetie pies. Yeah. No, but I know, like, back in the day, I think people thought Led Zeppelin was, like, just the harshest thing they'd ever heard in their lives. And now we're just like, that's like a fun ditty.
Well, but that was like always classic rock to us, so I
Right.
never expected it to be like that dark or or like hard or whatever. And then yeah, it just I had to stop. I had to stop doing it.
What I always find so strange about those moments too is like Linkin Park speaks to you when you're a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old and you're like, yeah, absolutely, it is crawling under my skin. Like, shut up and listen to me or whatever. And then you listen to it later and you're like, but why are these grown men like
I
writing
know.
songs for teenagers to
I
be
know.
moody to? Like,
No,
what's going on?
it's I almost get a little embarrassed. For,
For them, right?
yeah, I do, and that's like what is part of it's so uncomfortable. So then, I mean, so when I went back, kind of looking for that sounds, then I had my next question was like, okay, so what is hard and aggressive rock today then?
Yeah.
Like, what's the darkest thing I can find? And there's totally insane stuff coming out of like Norway.
Of course. I mean, Norway's like
I
always
didn't know
been
that.
the
I didn't know
capital
that
of
was, like-
insane, right? Just
I
guessing.
didn't know that metal was so popular there, but apparently it is. And they've like, I mean, it's so dark. It's so amazing.
What's the darkest thing you've heard lately? What did you dig up that was just like
Yeah.
so dark it was actually decomposing?
I mean, I guess there was one group called Shining,
Ooh.
which I think there's actually multiple metal bands called Shining.
Okay.
You have to find the right one. There's another one called Zoo, spelled XU. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, I mean they're dark, but again, it's not like melodramatic, and it's way dissonance, and they're incorporating weird jazz stuff into it, which makes it even harder to listen to. I mean, I can't listen through the songs. I always wanted to like see what was going on
Yeah.
and appreciate it, but I can't listen through it. But it's really cool. I mean, it's amazing.
That
It's
is really
definitely-
cool.
Yeah, it gave me some of the same feelings that I felt like as a kid getting into metal initially gave me.
Well, Alex English wants to know Turbo Negro in Norway and Sweden. Okay, I guess it wasn't a question. I guess he's just saying Turbo Negro in Norway or Sweden. Check that out. We'll all have to Google Turbo Negro. But yes, Norway is like the capital of black metal. It's like where they would burn churches and like actually kill band members and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, but I heard that it's now kind of mainstream, which was really fascinating to me. That, like, in the way that, I don't know, I'm not going to be able to name names, but it's like a cool thing for a popular kid in high school to say they like and they're into.
Oh,
Like, claiming that
wow.
they're into metal. Not the way it is here. So it's actually like you get a cross section of all sorts of different kind of people listening to metal and going to these festivals there. So that's just what I heard. I don't know.
So cool. What prompted this exploration of the deepest, darkest sounds? Was it just something inspired by it being your birthday soon? I know that happened to me this year. I just like regressed. I watched Sailor Moon for like 5 days before my birthday happened.
Okay. We're not going to talk about Sailor Moon.
We
but I
won't.
watched a lot of it when I got home from school.
It's just enough to know you're a fan.
They don't. It honestly, the music. It doesn't make me sad at all. And if I'm feeling down or angry, like I don't really seek out music to like assist with moods, especially.
Yeah.
And honestly, for me, like I don't listen to that much music, anyways, for enjoyment. After
Really?
making music all day, it's my ears are just kind of tired.
Yeah.
And so I can appreciate music, but it's hard for me to actively listen to stuff after I've been kind of using that part of my brain.
Totally.
So I think before I got into production, that's why I sought out certain kinds of music to like access a feeling or something like that. And sometimes that happens for me, especially if I'm on vacation now. And I've been trying to get back to that and be more of a fan. But now it's almost like I'm using music to like a palate cleanser or something, to like contrast what I've been doing.
I totally understand that. And it's such a reality that when something, even that you love and has been such a huge part of your life for so long, when it becomes what you do, your relationship with it changes. Like, I feel that way with writing and reading. Like, sometimes when I'm reading something, I'm just like, oh God, I should like put this down and write something. Or like, I'm just like, I don't read as much other people's music journalism because I'm doing it all the time. And I'm just like, I don't know, man, like, blah. And I can only imagine that must be such a strange, like, switch in your life for music to become this like, oh man, I do that all day.
So that's, I guess that's like the negative part of it. The positive part though, is having spent so much time learning how to pick out all the like little parts of a song and like understand how it was made or where it came from or what they're doing to it from a production standpoint. It's opened me up to actually a lot of different kinds of music that I just couldn't tolerate before because I was coming at it as like a fan. Really like, do I enjoy this? If not, then I'm not going to listen to it. So I feel like it's not that I enjoy, pop music more or country music or some of these genres that, I've always struggled to be able to even just have on. Now I can kind of sit through anything and at least find a different way to listen to it. So I guess that's the positive side. It's kind of cynical.
Yeah.
I still have like the music and the genres that I enjoy as a fan. But yeah, again, I find myself listening to them pretty rarely now.
I feel that. Well, let's talk about, this is my first time getting to interview you and chat with you. And so I'd love to just get a better sense of who you are and where you come from. I heard that you grew up in the Bay Area, but that you also grew up in a pretty rural area. Were those like the same things? Like, I don't know where the rural parts of Bay Area are. So.
I mean, I think people that actually live in rural places would not consider it that much. It was really natural. It's a town called Portola Valley, which since then, with its proximity to like Silicon Valley, is incredibly affluent. And it was a nice place to grow up before. Now it's just not accessible. Also because, it has almost somewhere between suburban and rural. It has that feel because most of it's nature preserve and you can't really build anything since, forever. You can add more houses. There's no street lights.
Wow.
It's definitely...
I got excited by that because like I always get excited if you can actually see the stars. Was that something you got to grow up with?
Cool. Nice, but it's also very privileged to be able to like say things like that. And I definitely appreciate that. I'm super lucky I grew up there. But yeah, so, and it's not rural because in 30 minutes you can be in San Francisco.
Right, so. Exactly. That's cool. I'm actually in Berkeley right now. I'm not originally from here.
Really?
Yeah. That's cool. I just moved here last summer.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It would be nice to explore outside of pandemic life. So I'm looking forward to things opening back up. But
well, I mean, the cool thing about the Bay Area for me and why I kind of never intend to leave, at least that's how I think, even though, really the center of gravity is Los Angeles for music.
So you're up here. You're in the
I'm probably
Bay
like
Area.
5 miles away from you.
Shut up. That's crazy. Oh my God. I assumed you were in LA.
No.
Because I'm an asshole and that's what everyone does.
It's a good assumption. And honestly, I don't know if I should articulate it like this. If getting as much success in music like was the most important thing to me, I should be in LA and I would prioritize that maybe at a different point in my life. But I like the Bay.
Yeah, fuck yeah, the Bay's the shit.
Yeah, and LA is great, and I'll go down there a lot. Not so much recently because of the last year. But yeah, before and after for studio sessions, and it's easy to get down, and it's really nice to leave.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like I myself have a bit of a complicated relationship with LA. It feels like a strange place where once you get there, it's this weird like, hey, so and so wants to like meet up and say hi, and you're like, does so and so really want to meet up and say hi? Like, what is this even about? Like, what is this weird energy? Like, I want to hide.
Like, a friend of mine described it as everyone's always trying to upgrade.
Oh, and, yeah.
You know, and so many of the conversations are really just about that. And as soon as they find out they can't upgrade something in their life through you, then they kind of lose interest. You know, if it's not a connection or a network connection or a recommendation or some new self-help, you know, it kind of fizzles.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bay Area, especially like San Francisco, has its own issues.
For sure.
Being all, you know, the tech bros and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that being said, I mean, LA is huge though. And every time I go down there, I definitely see a different part of it. So, you know, I don't want to like crap on LA too much. Yeah. If you can't find something to enjoy or some neighborhood that feels great in LA, then you probably haven't seen enough of it because it is huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm originally from South Florida, and it feels very, I feel like there's a kinship to South Florida because it's like shopping malls, like palm trees. So we don't have mountains in South Florida.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
In LA, I think they think they have hills and nature. I mean, in the county, you can get there, but yeah, at times someone's like, let's go on a hike in LA, and I'm like, I'm all excited, and I'm like, hike, guys.
They just take you to like the observatory, and you're like, I've been here. I come here every time. It's true. Okay, well, I'm so glad to know that you're a neighbor. Welcome, neighbor. You ever want to get some coffee? Just let me know. You're bored, sick of being in the house? Let's go.
Cool.
I think I assumed that you had moved to LA because you worked with Toki Monster in 2016, and I watched the Sidewalk talk you did. Shout out to Lauren. And you were talking about how being turned on to the beat scene in LA was kind of a transformative moment for you as far as getting involved in electronic music.
Mm-hmm. I mean, again, not in person, but I think like Soulection and Team Supreme and the artists affiliated in those two labels or collectives or whatever was the first really produced music that I started listening to just as a fan.
Yeah.
I wasn't producing at the time. I didn't know what it was. I'd never gone to a club to see a DJ. I mean, I probably have seen one. Maybe I'd only been to like a club a couple times. I'd definitely not been to a festival. I definitely did not have any idea I knew some of the huge names like Tiesto maybe.
Right, yeah.
I didn't think through it. I didn't like actually consider like, why is he up there? Does he make music? What's he doing?
Yeah, it's best not to think too hard when considering Tiesto anyway. That's just a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that's as far as I got until my brother started sharing some music with me from some of these people. And I checked out SoundCloud. And again, this is all super late. And it's a weird way to get into producing. But that's kind of where it started. And I wasn't even producing at that point. So maybe like some months later, just by coincidence, I'd grown up playing guitar and bass, and
you were in your own metal bands.
Yeah, I mean, but I never wanted to be a musician.
Really?
Maybe as a little kid, but not really. It was always just for fun.
Yeah.
And I just, for whatever reason, I didn't think I could as well. Well, I didn't think that I could play or write the kind of music that I would be happy with as far as guitar, because I guess, how do I put it? I didn't think I was good enough, I guess. Cause I mean, there's some really good guitarists out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And I wanted to play jazz and things like that. And so,
shit, yeah.
Yeah, I never was never someone that like sought out the stage or performance in any way. Had pretty bad stage fright.
Wow.
So around the time that my brother showed me Selection and Team Supreme, and I was getting into like Mr. Carmack and Jemba Jemba. I just, I'd realized that I wasn't playing guitar very much anymore. I really missed it. But, people I knew, everyone was spreading out. It was just becoming difficult to meet up. And I had another buddy that I know, he kind of made some electronic music, and I just asked him, what software he used, and I started messing around with it. And from there, it just kind of started growing.
That's so cool. I heard that you actually said yes to your first gig without knowing how to DJ.
I mean, yeah.
Why did you say yes? I love that you did. I think it was the right answer, but I'm curious what was going through your head.
I thought it was like a joke, I guess. I didn't take it seriously. This was way before I had considered or even understood that this could be a career.
Was it like, had you put out some tracks on SoundCloud? How did this
happen? No, I mean, I like projects, right? So I get very like focused on a handful of things. I mean, sometimes I don't follow through, but yeah, I like to get really into things and kind of figure out how to do it well and for better or for worse. So yeah, I was definitely making a project of the SoundCloud thing because I was looking at people, with Team Supreme or, with Selection, or I was submitting beat ciphers and getting the feedback, and that was really fun.
That's so cool.
I liked, yeah. And so through SoundCloud, I mean, I didn't have an agent or a manager or anything like that. I remember getting an email, and it was going to be like $200, and I was going to DJ at this club in San Francisco. I think it was, who was, I can't remember. I think it might have been like Great Dane or King Henry or one of the Team Supreme guys was on the lineup. So I thought, oh, that's cool. I'll say hi. And then really, like, for me, the motivation was kind of like quarter life crisis. I just thought it would be like a weird, funny thing. And like worst case scenario, it's totally humiliating.
Yeah.
But like, it'll be funny. And then at the end of it, I get $200, which is really weird to me. So it was funny. I went and I learned, so I had 2 weeks. And again, I asked my same friends who turned me on to Ableton, and he had like an APC. So he helped me kind of set up this whole totally on rails Ableton set. And I had never touched a mixing board before. I had learned the APC enough to get through. And, like even at certain levels, when you show up, they assume what to do on stage and like where to plug in. And
oh no.
I walk up there, it's dark. I have no clue. I'm like grabbing the engineers to help plug everything in. The adrenaline kicks in because again, I'm like super stage fright. I do remember though, I could like hear people talking during my whole set, which I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, this is interesting acoustics. I had played the whole set at like 50% volume.
Oh, no.
There's the house mixer, which now I know about. And you got to turn the volume up on that because you're routing out of your computer and you just need to look at the levels. I mean, it's basic.
God.
But I'm like, so focused in on
it was cocktail hour, okay? You're setting
I thought it was really
vibe.
Funny. Then, the next person came up and
started.
I was like, oh, like that makes a lot more sense. It was so loud.
That's amazing.
But like I had a few friends there, and we all kind of laughed about it. And then I got $200, and I left.
I think that's the best part. Is like you can't fuck this up. Like you're gonna get $200 no matter what. And now you've done it. You've ripped the Band-Aid off. Like.
Well, I mean, sort of. I probably still had very uncomfortable stage fright for another year or two.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there is a moral to the story. I guess like not caring or not taking it too seriously was what really helped me get to a point where I was comfortable with it, where I could manage those feelings. Because I definitely hear from a lot of people starting out or wanting to get into, like they're into producing and they're having their first shows, and the lucky ones are just confident and comfortable. A lot of people stress out about like getting it perfect and that sort of thing,
right.
Which it's cool to have like a quality standard, and it's great that they want to do it well. But if it's so stressful and uncomfortable, like leading up to it, and then when you're on stage, and then if you do mess up, you're going to beat yourself up about it and question whether it was good, you're not going to be able to sustain that because it's going to get exhausting. And if it does work out for you, and now you're playing 1 or 2 shows a weekend or on a bus tour, that's going to burn you out.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that it's music. Like, you can take it seriously as an art form, but you gotta remember that it's supposed to be fun. And if it stops being fun, I think it's like time to reevaluate a little bit and go like, how can I bring the fun back here?
Or if at least it stops being like manageable or calm or something. You know, I mean, it's cool that it was never really, I don't know if I should say this, it was never really that fun for me to tour. Because I love making music. That's the part of the job that got me into doing this.
I have big thoughts about the difference between a producer and a DJ. And I think especially with the EDM blow up of the early 2010s, that what people were like expected to be, that line got blurred. And it doesn't seem fair to me that every producer is expected to be a DJ and every DJ is expected to be a producer. I
think the second one's not fair. The first one's totally fair, because if you're a producer, like you can definitely learn how to DJ so easily. It is like a fraction of the difficulty of what you just went through to be able to produce.
True.
Now there's probably some people that are gonna like.
There's some people are like, fuck this dude now.
Because honestly, I mean, if you spent 20 years, learning to DJ, you're going to be 20 years better than someone starting out.
Yeah.
But even to get to the point of like being able to produce a decent song, that's going to take a while. Getting to the point of being able to DJ a decent set.
Yeah.
Some weeks.
Yeah, exactly. 2 weeks. Throw something together, get $200, continue.
Fool people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
easier to fool people, I think, is really what it's coming down to.
Yeah, like every couple minutes you get to you get to do something, and then the rest of it is like the song kind of is doing the work for you. You don't have to play your own music. So it's the barrier to entry is really low.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of amazing when I think back on that, because I'm not critical of it. In some ways, there's no other way I could have launched a career as a producer without, having some connections and a publishing deal and being in LA and studios. Like that's how you do it. Other than that, I got to launch a production career, and DJing kind of made that possible versus playing guitar. I mean, like to get to that level of skill where then you can be on stage and that like time and overhead, then to launch your career is so much more work. So I was able, again, it's like kind of a joke, to start DJing before I even knew how to do it. You can't just hand someone a guitar and like say, could you play this show in a couple weeks?
That's true.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But they are two separate things. Now, the people that were DJs first, that looked up to DJs and DJing before discovering that they were going to need to make music.
Right.
That in this day and age, that's really difficult. And some people I know have done that, and they do tend to, I'm not going to name names, but there's some people, they need help starting out.
Yeah.
They're not ghostwriters, just
seems only fair. Yeah. Like shit, man. Everyone needs a little help in the beginning.
That sounds way harder.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm really interested in hearing how your career kind of took off. You jumped right in, and apparently, I mean, shout out the old SoundCloud days when you really could start a career just getting some tracks up on SoundCloud. It's a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
But you pretty quickly were working with, you started working with Toki Monster, which must have been really fun. On that, I love that Anderson .Paak track. And then I'm really fascinated by the Debris release, which is, as I understand it, B-sides from studio sessions you had with people, including J. Cole and Kalani. Is that like real? I guess you were working with them.
I don't know who wrote that. I mean, those were things that didn't make it to record from some sessions, and then just things lying around. So, I mean, that was the weird transition from, you mentioned SoundCloud days and how that was where you got enough attention to make money, to get booked, to, recruit a team, to get enough plays and fans that they come to shows.
Yeah.
That to like transition it from, a hobby to actually being able to sustain yourself with it, that was like this weird moment where it transitioned from SoundCloud to Spotify. And it made sense. It kind of needed to. I was just lucky that I got into it. It was just the right time, the right place, to be honest. Because some of those releases, then we're all putting our music on Spotify. And with SoundCloud, it's casual, right? Like you can throw up a rough beat and it's a timeline approach. People almost never go to your profile and scroll down.
Right. It's like the feed.
So and so you got to release more and like feed your fans, but kind of like, like stories or something, it would go away.
Yeah.
And so there was
interesting.
less pressure too. There was more experimentation. It didn't need to be so polished. If something did kind of take off, like great, it'll get passed around. But a month later, I remember we look at the play counts and it was like the second or third day it peaked and then it goes down. Spotify changed that completely. And it's actually, in some ways it's great for fans, but it's sort of like the old days of pay for play with radio, because for a lot of people that are trying to break a career on Spotify, it's so much about connections. And I kind of hate it.
Yeah.
People are like angling for connects to Spotify playlisters who are this mysterious cabal around the world.
Totally. I know, it's so weird.
They have, I forget the name. Their job description is kind of I feel like it's to throw you off. It's something curator. I can't remember, but I did go on like LinkedIn, early days of Spotify, being like, I'm going to find these people. Because figuring out how to get your music to them was so confusing. And they'll be like some, middle-aged guy in Helsinki or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't know if it's still like that, but with Spotify, it's all so much more polished now. And even I regret moving some of the music from SoundCloud to Spotify, because I think it presents me in a way that I didn't intend to. So like Debris, like I don't dislike it, but it was kind of meant to be casual and forgotten a little bit.
Well, even the title Debris kind of insinuates that it's this like leftover situation, or it's like the stuff that's hanging around, like here it is, enjoy. Yeah.
So, but it's up there now, and it's kind of in
it's immortalized forever.
Yeah, and then it's everywhere too. That's also the issue, is like in those early days, you go through like TuneCore or CD Baby or whatever, and it would distribute it. And so now it's just on every platform forever, which kind of, just as a producer, freaks me out a little bit, especially as I've developed. And I wish I could just like comb the internet and kind of take all that stuff down sometimes.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I like that dichotomy of like having to not take things too seriously so that you can kind of keep chugging along without getting caught up in the anxiety of whatever the fuck's going on. But then also this like, but I'm trying to create, like, I have a vision, people. I'm telling a story, and I don't know if this chapter is canonical, but
yeah. And it's like, I'm not a band, I don't spend it's like 5 years on an album, and it better like be inked into the internet. I don't want that to go away. That was 5 years.
Yeah.
And if a fan finds that album, there's a really good chance they'll find similarity and similar reasons to like your next album. With producers, with us, it's different because we work so much faster.
Yeah.
It's easier to put stuff out. We're almost expected to keep a steady beat. There's reason to hold back for sure. But I think if people listen to a lot of my or other producers' kind of old music and they like it, they might hear some of your recent stuff and, what the hell is this?
You're surprised, yeah.
Yeah, which to me is okay. Like, I don't need a fan to like everything I do. And you can just go on Reddit and see, like, the hate that happens when you do something different, which is fine. That's great. Like, that's what's cool about being a producer, is I don't have to care that much.
Yeah.
I
appreciate that you say that, because I think that's the right attitude to have. But I do think there are a number of producers who put themselves in this cage because they're like, well, my fans want to hear this. Like, I really want to try something totally left field and crazy, but hey, the fans want to hear this. So like, I keep making this for like 7 years or whatever the hell. And it's good that you don't feel that cage. It's beautiful, really.
Yeah. Like, take the input, but it doesn't make sense to me to let that form what you want to make totally. Because I mean, I think when I've seen producers get sucked into that kind of thinking, they're too consumed by people liking and disliking their music.
Yeah.
And also, they might come out with something different, and all their fans that like their old trap bangers or whatever hate this new pop sound. But what about like the dozens more you got that like the pop sound?
Exactly.
Like those people that complained are going to delete your old music from their library. Like, still going to listen to it. Who cares? So I don't know. For me, I just don't think too much about it.
Yes.
And I try not to I don't even try. I just don't really look into it.
It's probably for the best too. When you're a creator of any kind, you also have to not look into it a little bit.
No, I don't think it's the best. I mean, that happens to me because I don't go on social media very much or like YouTube and like ever look at the feedback because I don't think to.
Yeah.
And when I see it, it's kind of funny to me who are these people taking the time to do these weird comments on YouTube. But I think, again, we didn't grow up with that behavior being natural.
It's true.
So I have to put in the effort to remember to stay active and to pay attention.
Yeah. Oh my God. The juggling that you have to do as an artist. I can't imagine. Steels McGill's over here saying preach though. So people appreciate the artistry. I am really excited to chat with you about the artistic explorations you've been diving into, and it seems like the last couple of years. Your sound certainly has evolved, and I think pretty recently you just dropped the Getting Better album, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. But talk to me about the creative approach there, and what was in your head when you started it, and what is that album? What's the story there for you?
I mean, I'll try to articulate a story.
I know. Musicians are always like, that's the reason I make music, so I don't have to use my words.
Ask that question too, as if like I guess sometimes some people start out with a vision, but I think more for me, that's just a story you kind of create afterwards. Kind of look back and try to understand why you made a series of choices. Yeah. And I guess, I mean, it's a nice story to try to like connect it to the last year or two
Was it made in that period of time? Is it kind of a quarantine creation or? I
mean, I'm always sketching different ideas out, hundreds, and they're rarely actually consistently EDM or the kinds of music that like my fans will know me for, because I just, one, I enjoy it, but two, I'm just weird. Like it's hard for me to like always make something that sounds like it fits with my project, which, side note, is why I have like 2 side projects, because it's just, I have all this stuff amassed and I'm like, what do I do with it? So the Getting Better album, I did start pulling it together over this year. It seemed like a good time. Shows were stopping. I was ready to kind of finish a different group of songs. And well, first I didn't really overthink it. So again, this is all hindsight. Like, why did I do this?
Yeah.
I wanted to try a different sound. I liked these songs. It seemed like a good time strategically. People were at home on their headphones. I don't know.
Well, here, I realized that we're actually been talking for quite a while, but I have Who Loved You Better with Panama that I can play for the kids real quick. Anything you want to say about that track? I personally, it's one of my faves. So I was excited when you sent it over.
I mean, I heard Jera's voice, and we've been in touch for a long time, trying to get something going. It's funny, the way the song started. It was from a demo that was very future bass and very EDM. It sounds nothing like where it ended, and I actually really love the song. Yeah, and it's not something that I don't think anyone would pick out as being my song if they had to guess, had they only heard like what I've done previously. Yeah. But yeah, Panama's great.
It's great. Okay, well, let's play Who Loved You Better, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Sessions series, which I think is very, very cool. Okay. It was a jam. I agree, Damask NYC. And you were just telling me I cheated and I asked a question that would be interesting for you to answer live. And I was noting that you almost create all of your visual designs yourself, which is really cool and really impressive. But you did work with someone to help animate that one that lovely.
Yeah.
I get it now. Like, I feel there's like, especially in the songs that you released this year, I feel the influence of nature. And then looking at that lyric video, I'm like, it's all just very like, it just feels good. Are you influenced by those things? Like,
no, I'm not.
Okay.
It's just a default. I don't know. I mean, again, like I think a lot of the branding started with like this kind of floral Victorian flower paintings and still lifes. And there's no reason for it.
Yeah.
People want to ask again, it's the same thing with like, what's the story of the album? And I could come up with a reason if I think through it, but that's not why it was chosen.
Yeah.
There's certainly a reason, but I just didn't think about it. I saw that and I was like, oh, this will make sense. And it's kind of safe.
Yeah. I love that you're just an off the cuff dude. You're like, this is it.
I think that for me, because sometimes I'm not, and the times that I do strategize first or overthink things or say like, what kind of song do I need to make or what should this be? I get into trouble because I can't find the best thing.
Yeah.
Because there is no best thing.
Exactly.
And so I get stuck. And that happens a lot with music too.
Is that why you like collaborating with other artists so much? Because it creates this like juice on the gears to keep it moving?
A perfect segue. Yeah. So that's kind of connecting that with the SoundCloud thing. Because we were talking about SoundCloud to Spotify and how releases have shifted.
Yeah.
When that was happening, I love collaborating, and it keeps you out of that mode because you're working with someone else. They can delete your ideas. You have to be really free. You don't sit down with the person and talk about what the song is going to be.
Yeah.
And you get to see how people work, which, production wise, we're all kind of self-taught mostly, and we all come up with these weird ways of doing things and getting sounds. There's no right way. So you see and you get to learn so much faster because it's being pushed to you instead of you like seeking out a tutorial on it. But that, and then timing it with, SoundCloud kind of going away and me feeling like I had to be more precious and curated with my music releases. I really miss just making a bunch of music and releasing it.
Yeah.
Oh, and then it's like, it helps other artists too. Which
yeah.
I like that. And I like staying in touch with everyone. And, the moments where I feel like I have helped make me feel good selfishly. Because I also remember, when I was starting out and I was just on the SoundCloud DMs messaging everyone in Selection and Teams Room constantly.
Is that how you broke through? You were just like, hi, hello, hi.
No, that's not a good way to do it. No. So eventually I feel like the responses started coming in when the music started getting better.
Right. Yeah. They kind of come to you when you're ready, sort of situation.
Yeah. A little bit. But I mean, again, I didn't care. Or I didn't know better too. Because I'm not thinking through like how many DMs does this guy get on SoundCloud.
True, right. Yeah. It's true. Wait, so how does it work? Talk me through like the whole sessions world. How do you get connected with these artists and yeah, it's so cool.
So there's a submissions period where I open my inbox for, I think it's like Krane sessions or something like that. And I think I'll pre-announce it so people can kind of get demos together or, make something. And then I'll usually leave it open for like a week and a half. And during that time, people are just sending music in.
Yeah.
Linked to streams. And my favorite ones, they're really rough. Sometimes people send pretty finished stuff. And that usually doesn't make it.
Yeah.
But,
well, because I could see how if it's super done, you're like, well, what do I do with this? Like, great song.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, I mean, I know what I could do with it, which they like, let's work on this. And then I'll take 10 minutes and it's done and it's great. I didn't have to do anything.
Right.
But I feel bad about that.
Yeah.
as tempting as it's been though, because I mean it's crazy. This last round, I got like I can't remember. I think it was like 800 people submitting, and people
Wow.
submitting like 6 demos. I'd say
Wow.
that's the average is like 5 or 6 demos. So I'm just inundated with music, and I have to make sure to like set aside time every day to listen through it.
I'm gonna
And then I have to
say
spread
that's dedication just to even hear it all and try to bring your fresh ears to like each thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh my
Well,
gosh.
that's what I had to learn how to do is like to not not think about it. I would just go with my gut. I wouldn't think about it. Are people gonna like this? Is a song? If I hear it and then like my gut's like, oh, I kind of want to jump in.
Yeah.
The spreadsheet, but I had like 80 songs on the spreadsheet.
Wow.
What's so insane about it and what sucks about the Spotify world is these are like SoundCloud artists that we'd have all been noticing a lot more.
Yeah.
If that platform was more active now, because the amount of people making music like better than all of us,
Wow.
it's really humbling. Really humbling.
Yeah. Wow.
And
Who are some of the artists that you got the chance to work with on this round that you'd love to shout out and share with people, put them on a little bit? No, I mean, I know obviously you have.
Yeah. Again, God, they're so cool. Haven't I done enough?
That's so cool though.
Well, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't want to leave anyone out. But you know, the first track came on when he's been like gaining a lot of attention and energy right now. I feel like in that like segment. I know he's just signed some records to like Sable Valley, for example.
Nice,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I can't take any credit for that. I mean, he sent a bunch of demos, and I think actually at first I wasn't gonna work on any of them because I liked them a lot, but they did feel too finished. But then I kept going back to them. I just kept going back to them because I was also kind of like, this guy's good. You know, he doesn't need this. But I kept going back to them and started working on one of them with him and just kind of like stripping it down. And it was a collab. And then we were chatting. And then we were like, you know, Jules, this producer, Jules, who's also on Sable Valley. We're like, he'd be really cool to work on this. Maybe he's got some ideas. And then we sent that to him. And now we have this song that didn't make it to sessions. So then I had to go back to him and say, okay, but I still want to work on that song. So we started something. But yeah, that's a fun story. I mean, everyone else on sessions is great.
Yeah.
I would just go through and list it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It must be fun for you too, because I'm really struck listening to your catalog. And I know I've said this and I shared this on the internet, but like, you just have a really diverse sound palette. Like, you have not been afraid to just do what you want, and that has become apparent during this conversation as well. But I imagine the sessions give you a lot of freedom to do different things because you must be getting a lot of different types of sounds in the demos. Like, is that part of the fun as well?
100%. Yeah. It takes the pressure off a little bit, or at least it sets the audience's expectations.
Right. Yeah.
Which is important so that I don't have to explain it and say like, oh, this song's completely different, but like, you know, I'm not just going to do all this. And it's like, don't leave me if you like this other stuff. And you feel like you have to defend it a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
Or you start thinking that way before you even get to working on it. So sessions is, yeah, I feel like people know what it is. If they do, there's a lot of openness. They don't expect it to be consistent or one kind of genre, and I have permission to kind of do, different styles.
Yeah, I heard that you are working on a couple different styles for albums right now. Are you actually working on 2 albums at the same time?
I mean, they've been in the works. I guess I had a couple ideas, because again, I have so many demos amassed, and I just need to go through and say like what makes sense to release them, because we don't release just constant singles anymore.
Yeah.
Better to put in an album. But I was just kind of listening back to a lot of it's older, it's like 3 years old, electronic music that I was really excited about when I started producing, and thinking about, I don't know, just putting together kind of 2 self-released albums.
Yeah.
But again, I don't really have a good story for it. They're just
okay.
sort of sound like kind of future-based chord stuff, and then there's kind of trap stuff. If I think about it too much and try to answer your question too well, then I'm just like, I don't know. I get confused.
Don't start overthinking now. Not
Exactly.
overthinking it has gotten you everywhere.
Yeah.
It's cool. It must be crazy to just make so much. Does your wife help you pare it down? Can she help you
No.
sort through the
She
She's
doesn't
like, I don't
my
know, babe. It sounds great.
So, once in a while, so I've got these side projects and stuff like that. And once in a while, she'll say something. Like the other day, I was working on a song for just like an R&B singer who I was excited about and working on some instrumentals for her.
Cool.
And she did say, oh, that sounds nice. Is that you? And that's the extent.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes like she might hate something a little less or find something compelling in it, especially like trap music, anything like that. She didn't listen to metal growing up.
Have you guys been together longer than you've been a professional producer?
No.
Oh, that's good. Well, you know that she loves you for you, man.
Yeah. I mean, if you cannot be into music or shows or electronic music and tolerate being in a relationship with anyone who tours.
Yeah. Oh my God. Shout out. Yo, that's strength.
No.
Yeah.
It's like, great. I get it because I know what I'm at the shows and like, I see how, but if like it's foreign to you, I have to remember what it was like before I understood it.
It's true. It's true. Well, congrats to you. Has it been nice then being home for a year plus now? I mean, I'm sorry you had 2 quarantine birthdays, but
I mean, yeah, I get yes and no. Yes, because I like being home a lot.
Yeah.
And now I don't have to like ask for permission,
to be home.
But I'm like, people are having a hard time for sure. And I'm not by any means having a hard time on the spectrum of like who's really struggling the most over the last year. So yeah, I feel pretty lucky. Yeah. My hard times are manageable.
Yeah, I saw you on Twitter saying you're not sure if you want to get back on tour, or someone was asking you, when are you going to get on tour again? You're like, I don't fucking know, man.
Yeah. I think I'm just going to become like very germophobic, hypochondriac.
You're going into your Howard Hughes
That'll be my explanation for why I just can't book that overseas tour.
I love it. Well, what are you excited about these days? I mean, it sounds like you're constantly making tunes, but is there anything coming up that you're like jazzed about and you want to share with people, or
like music? Yeah. So I've got a project pulling together with a very kind of indie pop 80s singer and a co-producer of mine, and it's pretty much like a little band, I guess. There's produced elements, but it's very 80s.
Oh, I love that. Oh my God.
A little more poppy. And I'm not gonna make it anonymous, So yeah, I think that'll weird people out a little bit, but it's cool.
Well, I'm personally really excited for that. I love that sort of energy, and you get to go back into band world and like.
I know.
Is it like, are you like gonna play synth? Is it that kind of 80s band?
No, I can't. I'm a germaphobe and a hypochondriac. So
Right. You'll produce music videos, and that is all.
Yeah.
Well, that's really exciting. You
going to be like VR shows from now on, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Are you big into the VR world?
No, but I would get it so that I could just do the show from here.
Absolutely. I did hear that you're a sci-fi fan.
Yeah, for sure. Look, can you see the Kindle on my sofa?
Oh, yes, we can.
Yeah, I've always been into that kind of TV and movies and stuff, but yeah, definitely read a lot of fantasy sci-fi these days.
What are you reading right now?
It's called the Inheritance trilogy. So the problem with the Kindle is you never look at the cover of the books.
Right.
So I can't remember the titles.
You're like, what is this again?
I'll Google it. M.J. Kempson.
Ooh, cool. I'm a big sci-fi nerd as well, so I'm just really trying to pick your brain for reading recommendations.
Yeah, I can't remember the author's name, but there's very few women writing science fiction. Mm-hmm. And so it's definitely when it's, when I enjoy it, it's like it brings something totally different to the stories that I really appreciate.
That's so cool. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. I'm trying to I'm recently starting the second book in the Third Body Problem trilogy, so
Pretty good.
yeah, I've been told that's the best one of the trilogy by my
Yeah,
roommate.
I mean that's like sci-fi. That's like sciencey sci-fi.
It's totally sciencey sci-fi. Yeah.
It's a little. I like a
heavy.
little more story.
Yeah.
A little lower brow.
Yeah, I think I'm usually that way too, but you know.
But I finished it.
There you go. You can't
And I say it's good because you're supposed to say that one's good. So.
Of course, yes. Have you read Foundations? Because that is like
Never heard of it.
The Holy Grail by Isaac Asimov.
Oh yeah, no, haven't.
I highly recommend. Highly recommend. Yeah. All right, Krane. Now that we're going down the sci-fi loop of forever, you just made me think about it. I was like, Ready Player One. We're all Ready Player One now with our VR headsets and our this, that, the other thing, and 80s.
Yeah, that one was fun.
Yeah. Well, it's been so nice getting to know you. I feel like it was super easy to chat with you, and whenever you're gonna drop your 80s synthwave band, I'd be super down to have you again and talk about that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much. Oh, and on the way out, we're gonna play Better Things. So, any final thoughts about Better Things? Anything you want to share with us about that track?
I think, I mentioned coming out with like 2 self-released albums. That's definitely the vibe of one of them.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because this is like a standalone, was unreleased for a long time kind of track, right?
Yeah, again, like I put it up on SoundCloud, even post SoundCloud era.
Yeah.
But now I'm just going to try to pull all those songs together for Spotify so people can actually listen to them.
Do you think that there is, like, if people were just trying to put their music out and they were at the stage that you were back when SoundCloud was useful, like, how do people do it? How do you think people should, like, get their music out there? Is there even a way? I guess they should just try to get on sessions and work with you.
I mean, I think that you just have to, like, diversify more, I guess, now. There's plenty of examples of people focused on one platform, or there's one way that makes their career, whether that's like support for some big famous person or cosigns or some record that just goes nuts or some TikTok. Well,
I know, always the TikTok viral.
Like those stories are awesome, but that's not my story. And so I don't know. I think it's just like being consistent and, I was lucky that SoundCloud I could just really focus on that. Now I think you just have to pay attention to like a lot of different things, and it sounds hard. It is hard. I mean, I talk like I've made it. And it's, like if I have made it, then I don't know.
Well, hey, you did make it. You've got a lovely home. You're like, you're happy. You're doing what you love, and that is freedom in a lot of ways.
Yes, but I guess not so much to the extent that I would say like take me as a model for this is how this like
is how I did it.
I
buy my book.
Like, beat it. Anyway, it was great talking.
It was great talking. Enjoy your evening.
You too. Have a good night.
Good luck this summer.